All right, good. So let's go over the syllabus. Get my clock. So here's a topic that we're going to be looking at. I've conceived this class in a political and social context here in the States, which I believe is growing darker and darker. I don't know if you've noticed, but social media is dark, right? Politically is dark. There's a lot of tension. In the world in general is dark. So we are really approaching a kind of almost apocalyptic time, almost an end of time atmosphere. And I don't know if in your personal lives things are getting darker, maybe, I don't know, I hope not. But in all of us, right, in a way, will reach times like this even personally, right? Right now, cosmically, we are in a very dark time, but even individually, we will often end up in a very dark place, right? So this class is really about hope, about finding the light, right? And this is not a self-help class, right? This is a philosophy class. What we will be doing is looking at philosophers who have themselves grappled with darkness and with despair, either collectively or individually, and have found a path out, right? They have found a way, they have found a door, right? They have found a crack in the matrix, right? They have found a path, they have found an opening, and then they have open the way for us, right? So this class, you can take it if you're a political science major or something like that. You can take it on a cosmic level, but you can also, if you're a psych major or just a human being, you can take it on an individual level. How do I find my way out of these dark places that I sometimes find myself in, right? So the class, you can entitle it, I have several titles. I don't know which one to choose. I have one title, Redemption Now. I don't like it very much. Another title, Hope and Despair, right? Third title, The Cracked Vessel. Fourth title, The Keys to the Kingdom. Okay, you can pick a title, right? But I will be talking a lot about redemption, about kingdom, right? This is meaning this other reality that we are so close to, but we cannot access, right? So this is really what the class is about. So it's not specifically a religious or a religion class, because this dimension is not a religious dimension. This is a dimension which is a human dimension, which the existentialists have explored, have in a way stumbled upon or have sought and found, right? So it's not specifically a religion class, although some philosophers talk about God, others just talk about being, or they talk about, you know, this transcendence. So you can take it in the way you want. But in essence, in this class, I'm really hoping that collectively we will find a door, right? If you are in a dark place, or and we are collectively in a dark place, where can we find a way out? Not only for ourselves, but for everyone we know, right? I am leading you on this kind of Lord of the Rings journey, right? And I'm hoping that these philosophers hold the keys to what I call the kingdom, and we will try collectively to find that path on this grand journey that we're about to embark on, and hopefully bring people with us, right? That's the goal, right? I'm really seeing this, I'm visualizing this cinematographically, right? I'm seeing it like a movie, right? So we will be traveling several, I have many more philosophers than I usually teach, but we will be covering them all. All of them in a way have found a door, have found a window, have found a crack, right? And that's what we will be. We will stop at each one on our long journey, our epic journey. We will stop in the villages or towns of these philosophers, and we will learn how they found their path. They will give us keys, they will give us lanterns, they will give us secret codes, right? And then we will be able to collectively find a way out of the mess that we are in, either individually or collectively, right? Okay, so what's interesting about this class when it comes to, I don't even know what to call it, finding the light or redemption or the kingdom, which one you prefer? Let's settle on the terminology. I can talk about kingdom, I can talk about light, I can talk about redemption. How many of you like kingdom? Okay, how many of you are light? Light. Okay, all right, sounds good. Like light, okay. Redemption, anybody? Okay, light it is. Okay, so we shall work with the light. Okay, so in this quest, right? So normally if you talk to religious people or idealistic people, so in other words, if we go into the history of philosophy of idealism, or if you go into the history of religion, people have seen the light as something coming in the afterlife. Once you die, you see the light, right? And we have all this stuff about what are these near-death experiences, right? No light now, right? In general, when you look at religion, they will say, no, 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 you will find, right, this light only when you die, this kingdom, this other place, right? This redemption comes only after death, and it's an otherworldly place, right? And so most of us are waiting hastily for death. I wonder why we're not all committing suicide to get there faster, you know? So what's beautiful about these philosophers is that they have found the light in the darkness. They have found an access here and now. And this is very important and deeply connected to the existentialist movement, which we'll talk about, right? So you can jot down, right, that differently from religion, which situates the light outside of this world. You have to move away from this world. You have to leave the world. You have to separate from the world. You have to die. Then you find the light. These philosophers actually have found the light in the here and the now, within the darkness, within this material world, within this fragile body. We can access the light. And that's what's beautiful about this class, is that it gives us the keys here and now. You don't need to go anywhere else than here, right? So, okay, so that's the general direction. Now, just introduce briefly some of the philosophers we'll do. This is a class 100% Jewish content. So if you're Jewish, is great. You can explore the text of your tradition. If you're not Jewish, it's even better, because you can explore another tradition, right? It's going to be a mind-expanding experience for you, right? And it's one of the rare non-Western philosophy classes in the department, right? So this is also an opportunity for you to tune into non-Western philosophy. Jewish philosophy has for centuries criticized the mainstream Western philosophy. So if you're looking for a critique of the canon of Western philosophy, of the way that things have been taught for centuries in Western schools and institutions, this is a good place to go. They have been the thorn in the side of Western philosophy, have constantly seen the pitfalls, the traps, the issues, the problems that Western philosophy engenders. So it's a very good, if you're a philosophy major, this is excellent, because you will have a very strong critique of what we are normally teaching as though it's fun, right? We are teaching philosophy as though that's the ultimate truth. This is the way. No, actually, there are a lot of problems with Western philosophy. There are a lot of connections between Western philosophy and the political problems that we have, right? The genocides that we have done as the West. What do you think? You think it's disconnected, right? All of the atrocities that the West has done and the way the West thinks, connection, right? So there's a connection between even Western philosophy and the political excesses of the Western world, right? So it's very good for anyone, right, to study, I think, Jewish philosophy, because it offers this critique and offers this warning to the West, right? Okay, so anyways, so let's start with the first one. This is going to be kind of a survey class. I will start actually with ancient, and we will move all the way to contemporary. Why? Because existentialism starts in the Hebrew Bible, right? This is where it first started. This is the roots of existentialism. Even the existentialism of the philosophical existentialism that happened in Europe has its roots there. So we're going to start in the Hebrew Bible with the Book of Kohler, or in English, Ecclesiastes. In fact, write it down. Okay, Kohelet or Ecclesiastes. It's going to be our first stop. It's a very ancient book in the Hebrew Bible. It was written around 1000 BC, right? The most ancient text, most ancient existentialist text that we have. It is believed it was written by King Solomon, who was, we'll talk about him, we'll see what an interesting individual he was. In this particular book, he has a very interesting perspective, because for him, the light is not something that you can strive for, right? So in other words, the rebirth that we're looking for, the fresh start, the new vision, the light transcendence is not something that you can strive for. It's something that you need to simply embrace. We are living right now in this world, already in the kingdom, right? There is already the absolute all around us. And to the degree that we're open to the world is to the degree that we will access the light. It's very interesting. So he's not saying the light is somewhere beyond the world. He's saying to the degree that we embrace our own particular, fragile, imperfect lives, to the degree that we accept it, to the degree that we work it, right, to work what we have been given, is the degree to which we will discover the light within our own lives. So our small ordinary existences already contain powerful light, but the problem is because we're resisting our own lives, we don't access this light. Do you follow me? Right? If you're resisting your own life, where life is putting you, who you are, if you're resisting some of us resist who we are. We don't want to be ourselves. We want to be somebody else. So to the degree you resist yourself, to the degree you resist where life has put you, the family, the culture, the religion, the society, to the degree that you resist what life has given you, where life has put you, you are resisting the light that is in store for you. Once you accept and embrace all, including the difficult times, the moments of pain, is a moment you will begin to access the captured and prisoned light of your own lives, right? So that's the Book of Kohelet. We're going to look at that. How do we radically open up to the world, to our lives, to what is coming our way? Because only by opening up in this radical way, in this incredibly exposed way, will we begin to touch our true lives, who we were meant to be and what we were meant to do. So that's Kohelet. Then we'll go to medieval times. So Maimonides is a very famous medieval philosopher. So Maimonides is one of the least existentialist philosophers because he's heavily influenced by Greek thought, but he still has something. In essence, for Maimonides, the light, or what he calls divine providence or divine favor, is accessible to the mind that is ready to receive it. So in other words, the mind is the vessel of the light. The mind is the vessel of divine wisdom, divine providence, divine favor. But if your mind is narrow and cluttered, you cannot receive that. And so Maimonides is going to teach us how to expand our minds, how to expand our consciousnesses, right? I tell people, there's two ways you can expand your consciousness, actually only one. You think you can do it with drugs or with mushrooms, right? But actually, if you were to study philosophy, you would get there much faster, right? And in a much more sustainable way. The best way to expand the mind is philosophy, I believe. And Maimonides talks about this. He talks about how we need to expand our minds, to expand our consciousness, if we are going to access or draw into our lives this outpouring of divine light and wisdom. So it's always there. It's like water, right? The divine providence is floating around, but there's no opening for it to flow. And so Maimonides is talking about how do we open our minds so this light that is all around us can begin to flow into our lives, right? Does that make sense? I've never talked with the word light before, so it's tricky, but I'm getting there. I'm getting the hang of it. Okay. Now, after Maimonides, we're going to go into first century with Talmudic thought. I'm so happy that I'm bringing the Talmud into our philosophy class because it's usually studied as a religious text. It's one of the main compilations of the discussions of the rabbis around the Hebrew Bible. So a rabbi, for those who don't know, that's simply a Jewish teacher, like an imam or like a priest, right? So a rabbi is the equivalent of that. And the Talmud is the compilation of all of the discussions of the rabbis about God, about the Hebrew Bible, about life, and so forth. And usually studied as a religious text, but I'm going to study as a philosophical text, right? There's a lot in the Talmud, a lot of stories that they tell, parables, that are full of insight about what it means to be human, what it means to be spiritual, what it means to find one's true destiny, and so forth. And so we're going to look at some of these stories, and I'm going to do something unusual. I'm going to pair those rabbinic stories with the parables of Jesus. Why? Because Jesus was a rabbi, right? First century rabbi, same time. He was banned from the Talmud, but I believe he belongs there, right? He has the same style, the same approach, the same way of storytelling, and very much the same message. So I'm going to include it in the Talmud. I'm going to do a little Talmud plus. So we'll study some of these parables, so some of the parables of Jesus, some of the rabbinic stories. We'll study them together, and we'll try to see what are the keys that are given us in those stories, hidden in those parables, in those kind of mystifying stories, stories that are supposed to make us think about who we are, where we're going, who is God. Can we find in these stories a key to or a window or a door to lead us into the light, right? Out of the darkness. So this will be a very interesting topic, which I myself will be discovering along with you. This is new material for me also. So we'll see some of those. Then we'll move into 16th, 17th century with Spinoza. Spinoza, the black sheep of Holland, of the Holland Jewish community, right? He was almost excommunicated. Actually, I think he was excommunicated for his heretical thinking. But Spinoza is very, very Jewish. And for Spinoza is incredibly interesting if you're interested in human emotions. I don't know how many of you are struggling with your emotions. I'm curious. Anybody?
I used to.
Used to, okay. And now you're good?
No, I'm very
Some of you are not struggling with your emotions. You won't expect me to believe that?
Oh, no, I'm hiding it.
You're hiding it, yes. Most of you are like thinking you don't struggle with you have blocked your emotions, right? Precisely because they're so problematic. We all struggle with emotions, right? We all struggle with depression, despair, anger, resentment, and so forth. So we all have, these darker emotions. Spinoza is going to give us, I love Spinoza because he actually helps. I'm actually applying Spinoza every single day of my life. He's one of the rare philosophers I'm actually applying every day. Spinoza is going to give us a key how to navigate those emotions into the emotions of light. We have emotions of darkness, and Spinoza is going to pave the way to how we can navigate this darkness into how we can transform, alchemize these emotions of darkness into emotions of light. So he's actually giving practical advice how to move from sadness to joy. And I'm actually applying this, and I swear it works. It's amazing, right? And the way he's, some of you have already, I think a couple of you took that class with me, so you know already, but it's really interesting the way that he talks about how you move from sadness to joy, and that it all has to do with perspective. And so we're going to learn how do we work with our perspective so we can change the chemical composition of our souls, right? It is possible to change the very chemical composition of your souls. If you're like a dark, brooding person, you can change that and become a person full of light and joy, right? So that's Spinoza. Very interesting guy who actually lived his philosophy. He's one of the rare ones that is, there's a complete alignment between what he teaches and what he's doing. He is himself really a genuine sage, right? In the sense that he has experienced what he's talking about. Unlike many philosophers who are simply exploring it, Spinoza experienced it, right? Okay, then we go to 19th century, or rather 17th, 18th century Hasidism, the movement in Judaism, and some mystical movement in Judaism that occurred in the 17th, 18th centuries, countering the Enlightenment, by the way, right? You had the Enlightenment going on in Europe all over, this emphasis on reason, the emphasis on clarity, the emphasis on the mind. And the Hasidic, they were not even thinkers, they were rabbis. They actually had a whole counter-revolution going on, a whole subculture, which went against the Enlightenment, which emphasized, instead of the reason, emphasized the emotions, right? Instead of, the utopia, they emphasized the ordinary, everyday life. So this is a real philosophical movement that is completely buried, right? We are not studying it, but it's one of the most powerful critiques of the Enlightenment. See, the Enlightenment stands by itself as though it was the only path, right? There is no criticism offered of the Enlightenment, and yet there is, but we don't study it, right?
Their schools are in trouble here in NYC.
What schools?
Acidic schools.
Here, yes, that's another story. Yes, we have right now, of course, in New York, the offspring of these Hasidic communities, right? Absolutely. I have not checked what these rabbis are teaching at this point. These are the ancestors, right? So I know the story, so I don't know exactly how they have evolved.
For my classmate last semester is a former Hasidic. So
right, absolutely. Yes, I would need to go. It's hard to go in the Hasidic communities, but it would be nice to see what is being done now, right? If there is still the same dynamic critique of the Enlightenment and so forth. So definitely, if you're looking for a critique of the Enlightenment, of this idea that reason is all powerful, that we can solve all our problems with our minds, and this kind of idea of progress that we're going into in the far future, we're going to be these superhumans, right? And Hasidism is like bringing us back, right, to the emotions, saying the emotions matter, and also bring us back to the ordinary day-to-day life, and saying within the ordinary that's where the light is found. That's where the door is found. That's where you can penetrate into a deeper layer of existence. So very interesting. And we'll be studying their stories. So we're alternating between, very classic philosophical texts with arguments and so forth to stories. Yeah, I think mostly stories. We have no poetry. Maybe Kohelet is more poetic, but the rest is stories. Okay. Now we move 19th century. This is one of my favorite philosophers. Rosenzweig. 19th century. Rosenzweig is amazing. Rosenzweig is the anti-Hegel. Any of you studied Hegel?
I've heard of it.
Okay, good. See, it's so sad. Nobody's teaching Hegel in our department. But Hegel is, of course, part of this whole rationalism, Enlightenment movement that's taking place in the West. And Rosenzweig actually wrote his dissertation on Hegel and then went to war. And during the war, in the trenches, he realized that Hegel was bullshit, basically. He was like, this is stupid. This doesn't work for me. And in the trenches, he came up with a real different approach, right, to philosophy, which was very much centered on the individual. This is the beginning of a contemporary existentialism, right, with Rosenzweig. He is the Jewish Kierkegaard, if you know Kierkegaard, right? So in the trenches, he conceives this new philosophy that he calls it the new thinking, right? Where he's planning on showing not the evolution of the universal spirit, like Hegel was talking about, right? Hegel, if you know him a little, we will talk about him when we do Rosenzweig. He talks about how history is moving towards progress, right? That there is a kind of a spirit moving through history and moving us towards a better day. Rosenzweig is like, I don't care about that. We're not moving anywhere. Clearly, we're at war. We're not going anywhere. There's no progress, right? So he disagrees with Hegel. And then he says, however, as a human being, we can evolve, right? Individually, we can evolve. And Rosenzweig is going to reveal to us 3 gates that we must pass through in order to get to a deeper version of ourselves, to a deeper version of reality, to the light, right? So 3 gates, we'll see the gate of creation, revelation, redemption. And as we pass these 3 gates, which can only happen through an expansion of consciousness, right? Each time you have to go broader in your mind. You start out very narrow and you get broader and broader in your mindset and in the way you engage with reality. Then you cross the 3 gates and you have reached this place of redemption or of light or and so forth. So that's very, Rosenzweig for me is one of my favorites. It's a very beautiful writing. It's very, very nourishing, very, just I would say nourishing. Yeah, compared to some philosophies which stay stuck in your throat. Rosenzweig just very, very pleasant. Okay. Actually, before Rosenzweig, I was going to do Buber because of the connection. I'm switching it in the syllabus. I want to put Buber along with Hasidism, because Buber is deeply influenced by Hasidism. So back with Hasidism, where they were saying that within the ordinary, we can find the extraordinary. Buber is going to do the same thing, but he's going to say, we need to find the extraordinary within our ordinary relationships. We need to recover in our relationships a sense of the sacred, of the sacredness of another human being. And as we move towards the sacredness of another human being, as we allow it to emerge through the way we engage with human beings, we are accessing this deeper dimension, right? We are accessing the light. We are opening up, right? So Buber is a kind of following up on what Hasidism has taught, but he applies it now to human beings. How we can, the deeper dimension that we ought to discover is interpersonal, according to Buber. Okay, then. Last 2. Okay, so we have Rosenzweig, now we have Levinas, and they're together. They're influenced. Levinas is influenced by Rosenzweig. Levinas is going to continue this idea of the gates, right? Like Buber, he's going to apply it to relationships. And according to Levinas, the final gate, the final opening, right, is going to be when you're capable of engaging in a relationship where you are responsible for the other. You're not just thinking of yourself, you are entirely moving towards the other. This is the final expansion. This is the highest level of consciousness, when you're thinking beyond yourself towards another. And at that moment, redemption occurs for yourself, right? And finally, we will end with Simone Weil, only woman I had to struggle so hard to find a woman for this class. I found one, this one, she converted to Christianity, but she's originally Jewish, so I'm gonna go with her. Right? Veil is a Jewish name, and she grew up, a secular Jew. But her writings are filled with Christian themes, but we will try to recover the Jewish moments in her writing. That's what we will try to do. But she's a she's a very pleasant read. So I'm glad I'm ending with her, because some of this stuff is pretty hard. But Simone Weil is really going back to Ecclesiastes, going back to Kohler. This notion of the kingdom cannot be found by striving. It can only be found by waiting, right? There is an attentive waiting we have to develop if we are going to connect to the deeper level of existence. So we'll talk about that. So that's in essence the journey. Is a very, very, very rich journey. You will have an amazing survey in philosophy, period, right? And this is really non-canonic philosophy, right? This is what could be taught if the West had not defeated everybody else, right? So this would be the canon, right? So you will be really following the same thing as the Western thought, same, medieval, but the critique each time, right? So this is kind of like, you have the moon and you have the dark side of the moon. This is the dark side of the moon, right? Even though we're looking for the light, right? This is the other side. This is, I was going to say the Antichrist. Let me not say that. That would give me a lot of problems. This is simply, right, the other side of the coin, right? This is, you have Western philosophy doing the same journey, and then you have a shadow journey going on, which hasn't been really explored and which we will be exploring in this class. Okay, so any questions on our itinerary, our epic journey, Lord of the Rings journey, where we will find, hopefully, the kingdom or the light or whatever you want to call it? Okay, no question? Yes, question? Go ahead.
Well, you mentioned the country itself getting darker, the world getting darker. I agree with that. But you're not going to ask us who we're voting for next year, right? No, yeah, no.
I'm not. No. No, we're not gonna. Y'all can vote for whoever you like.
Yeah, you would want to know.
No, I probably wouldn't.
Right?
Yes, very good. Okay.
I might vote for you, just so you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the syllabus. Now that you have a question, or you just want to? Let's get into the syllabus so you have an idea of the workload and everything that will be expected. Okay, so first of all, I'm trying to remember the syllabus because I didn't print it out. Office hours after class every day, right? So if you need to talk to me, I'm completely available after class, as long as you need. Yes, the books. Please purchase the books. I've put them all on the online QC online bookstore. You want to get the actual books. I'm moving away from the COVID times, so you'll notice this. In other words, I will have absolutely no technology except this crazy moment here with Zoom. But normally, I want you to have the actual books, not the virtual books, right? Get the actual books so you can keep them, right? You need to start at your age to build your library. You need to have a home that looks cultured and not just a big TV, right? and you can have your big TV if you want, but I want a bookshelf next to it, right? You want to be surrounded by, by light, right? And these books are really the carriers of a message, of a destiny, of a light. So try to, build your library, buy these books and keep these books so you have a reference, so people can also feel the influence of the books, right? If you ever come to my home, you can feel it. My home is full of books, right? And you can really feel like the presence that these books are bringing to my home. There's no TV, just books. It's a paradise for me, at least. Yes, Sarkisian.
Actually, a question, because I'm also somebody who collects a lot of books, right?
Yes.
And I think about it because I think about, like, sometimes I know people who are like saying, like, oh, I had a person, a relative or whatever, right? They passed on, but they had this huge book collection, right? And in the end, it just all gets sold off, right? So from my end, I'm thinking, like, I mean, if I have kids, right, hopefully I would pass it on, right? But all the time, my parents always assume, oh, they would just take it, right? It's like the kid may not want it, they may move, whatever.
You can bring it to a library.
The books with the just being lost in this case, that way.
Yeah, I bring mine too. When I get rid of my books, I bring them here to the library. So there's always these big depositories of books that exist.
So the philosophy, the book thing in the department, is that you?
No, I brought them to our library. and they put them in different shelves. So you can do that. Okay, so yes, so bottom line, get the actual books, please. Don't get the, also you need the books because you'll be underlining a lot in the books. You'll be talking to the books, you'll be grappling with the books, wrestling with the books. And they're really amazing. This is a treasure I just gave you, right? This is the actual treasure of the mind, right? These are spiritual treasures that you want to accumulate and have with you in your home. So please get the books. Okay. So looking at the main assignment, you'll have basically almost each time we meet, not every time, but almost. Usually the way we're going to do this, I'm going to have one class time dedicated to introducing each one of these guys. And then we'll have two classes looking at the text. On the classes that we look at the text, this will be your assignment. Each time we're looking at the text. And if you have your syllabus, you will see, right, anytime you have a date with pages, that you have to have read and you have to have done this assignment that I'm about to talk about. This is called the reading assignment. Reading assignment, each time we study a text, you bring it. This is 1 page, single space, 4 paragraphs. Okay, make sure you write this down. I want you to remember this. It's 1 page, single space, 4 paragraphs. First two questions. Second 2 paragraphs, 2 critiques. So this assignment is there to help you begin to wrestle with the text. In philosophy, we don't read, we wrestle, right? So in other classes, you read, you absorb. In philosophy, you're not supposed to absorb. You're supposed to respond. It's a very different approach to reading, right? In other classes, you just memorize the information. It should come in and stay, hopefully. In philosophy, no. The texts are there to awaken you to thought. Right? So the texts are expecting a response, and the texts are intentionally difficult. They're intentionally occult, right? They're intentionally mysterious. Why? To begin to awaken your own thought process. If they give you everything easy, you're not going to think, right? So the text is forcing you to think and interpret and try to understand and imagine what it might mean and so forth. So the text is really both the writer and the reader. They work together because the writer writes and the reader interprets, right? It's not enough. You can't just read. You have to interpret. You have to think about it, reflect, ponder. What does it mean, right? So the texts are asking for a response. The reading assignment is you beginning to respond to the text. So you can respond with wonder. Like, I wonder what this means, right? So the first 2 paragraphs, you're kind of looking at a section of the text you don't understand. Maybe asking one question like, oh, I wonder what this metaphor means, or this story, or, you know, this individual in the story, or what does he mean by this sentence or this word? And so you're beginning to ponder and meditate the text. And then the last 2 critiques is you understand, but you disagree with the author. And you tell me why, right? So this is simply, it's your response. It's you beginning to think, to grapple, to wrestle with the text. And this is due each time we have page numbers in the syllabus, right? Now, here's the hard part. This is the easy part. The hard part is, I only counted, let's see, yeah, I can do that. I only count it if you're here in person. So you have to bring it on time and in person for you to get the credit for that. Does that make sense? So,
You want to print it out?
yes, and now I want it printed out. Now for many years on, because of COVID, I was on Google Drive, which I loathe. So now I'm off Google Drive. So
Really?
yes, no more Google Drive. You will print, or you can handwrite. If you have trouble printing, don't come to me with printing issues, because you can write this, right? So if you have a trouble printing, quickly write me something, right? You bring 2 copies, okay? Make sure, it's very important, 2 copies, which are only counted if you're on time. Right? So, and so 1 copy you will use for the group discussion, which we'll have at the beginning of class. Each time we do a text, you'll have 20 minutes in groups discussing this with your peers, and 1 for me, where I'll be looking what you wrote so I can respond to you, perhaps, right, during the lecture. Okay, any questions on that? And this will be, instead, I said in the syllabus 1 point, but I'm just going to make it 2 points and not count the, if you're here, just connect it. If you're here, I count this if you're here. So 2 points. Okay, so be careful. This is 2 points. Any questions on the reading assignment? That's your main assignment. You should always be thinking about doing that, right? So you read the text and then you do this.
On the off chance you agree with everything says.
Doesn't matter. I can totally disagree. It's fine. There's no right and wrong here, right?
Okay.
One part. Yes.
I mean, I'm seeing like in the syllabus, like where one day we introduce the text and the two other days there's pages. Like, are those the 2 days where we read?
Yeah, exactly. If there's no pages, it means I'm introducing. So you come like a tourist, right? You can just come and take notes. Yes.
Probably what he was saying, I think I remember the last class I took with you, it's either critiques or kind of affirmations, like what parts you agree.
Questions, not affirmations.
No, the
oh,
second
the
part.
critique part. Yeah, I mean, if you can't find anything you disagree with, of course you can. I mean, I'm not going to be like, you can totally say, oh, I like that. This is why. But I prefer critiques because that's more, that's more interesting to discuss. Okay. Any other questions on the reading assignment? Okay. That's the main assignment. Second assignment is going to be the test. So I think you have 4 tests total. And I typically, what do? Yes, I take home test. So I will give you the questions at the end of the session. And you open book at home, you type it up, you do the test, you bring it to the next class. Okay. And the test is essay. So, and what's really important for you to know now is the test is entirely based on your notes. So what I'm looking for in the test is how well you're hearing what I'm saying in class. This is simply that. Don't try to be smart. Don't try to, outsmart the question in the test. Test is simply me to verify, okay, they took good notes, right? So the better your notes, the better your test scores, basically. So, and I'm warning you in general, in the class, this is different from other classes. This is a European style. You want to take very detailed notes. You should be writing the whole time, actually. There should be nonstop writing, right? That's the sign you're doing good notes if you're writing nonstop, right? So you will, it's an essay. It's going to be probably 2 essay questions based on what we did. And you will respond based on your notes and then with quotes, right? Supporting quotes from the text, which is why you should bring your text to class, underline what we talk about so you have the quotes ready. And it's really just transposition of your lecture notes into the test answer, right? So that's going to be 4 times. And you can type it up, please. That helps. And then just give it to me the next day. Any questions on the test? Okay, now here's a fun assignment. This is due the day of the test also. This is your essay. I'm going to call it your journey to the light essay. Okay, so this is existential now, right? Since we're in existentialism class, this is you looking at your own life. Where are you on the spectrum of light? Are you in deep darkness? Are you here over here in the light? Are you in the middle? Are you struggling? What are you struggling with, right? I want to know. And then tell me, is there anything in the text we studied that brought you, that opened something up, that liberated something, that delivered something in your lives, right? So it's a very personal essay where you're really looking at where you are in this journey to the light, right? Where are you and what have you learned? What have you received? What are you going to bring with you as you journey on, right? It's very freestyle. It's a 1.5 pages, single spaced, right? So let me just write it down here. So this is the essay, right? 1.5 single spaced, right? 5 pages, single spaced. And you submit that the same moment as the test. I can't talk. Okay, as a test, right? So this is you really reflecting now more personally, more deeply on your own life, and then connecting it to whatever we've done in the class. So that's the essay. Then we have the final project. Projects. I have 3 projects for you. So there are 3 things I want you to do. It's a total of 12 points, but there are 3 things you need to do. First one, you will read, and I forgot to put it, I need to write a note for myself. You need to read Abraham Heschel's book called The Sabbath. This is a practice. We're going to talk about, we're going to be reading a lot. We're going to be thinking a lot about how to access the light. He's talking about a practice you can do to access the light. So this is a very interesting ritual you can do in your own lives if you want to begin to open more of yourself to the dimension of the light. This is a practice you can do. It's a weekly practice that He develops in this book in a very poetic way. If you know Abraham Heschel, by the way, he was a good friend of Martin Luther King, right? He actually went to some of those marches. He was very much involved in the civil rights movement. He was a Jewish rabbi from New York, right? And he wrote a number of magnificent texts, and this, in my view, is his masterpiece. And this is really developing the practice, right, of this opening up to the light. So that's the first thing. You'll read a book, do me a one-page response, what you like, what you didn't like. That's the first element of the project. Second thing with the project, one event I want you all to go to. Can you free yourselves? Would it be a problem? I'm just checking. April 20 is a Thursday night in April. It's going to be a day which commemorates the Holocaust, which we'll be studying. So we have a speaker that's going to come April 20 in the evening here on campus. And she wrote a book, which I really like the title. It's called Saints and Liars. And this is about women from all over the world who were part of the resistance against the Nazis. They left their countries and they joined the ranks of the resistance to help save Jewish families. So it's a very unusual topic. It's focused on non-Jewish women, right, who really were interested in helping. And so that's going to be a very interesting lecture connected with the Holocaust Remembrance Day. How many of you can be free April 20 in the evening on campus? It's right after this class, basically. Everybody?
So on campus.
It's on campus. Yeah, so we will finish around 5, whatever, and then boom, we go around 7 to the eat dinner and eat one of those terrible snacks here on campus because there's nothing to eat.
Yeah,
and then we can go to that. Okay,
yeah,
so
the date wasn't deliberate, right? April 20 is not. Yes,
it's not what?
It's an unfortunate day, but I'm not going to go.
Okay, April 20. Mark this, please. Mark your calendars.
Yeah.
7 p.m. They want to do it on Zoom, but I find that so horrible.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this COVID stuff. Let's move on. Yes.
I actually want to ask specifically about his angle. There's always the whole other thing, right? But specifically, because it's Hitler's birthday.
Yeah.
No, it's a Holocaust Remembrance Day is the 17th.
I was wondering.
This is just, it's not the 17th.
Yeah.
Because we planned it on the 20th.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I mean,
Okay.
it was also known for other things, the day is also known for other
Really? What is it?
I'm not going to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Last thing you'll do, I'm going to really open your minds. You're going to go to a synagogue survey. This is important. I'll tell you which synagogue. I'll be a nice, inclusive synagogue who will welcome you with open arms. I want you to go because you need it to understand Rosenzweig. So you will all go either Friday night or Saturday morning. This is a beautiful synagogue, amazing architecture in Manhattan. It's called Central Synagogue. And it's worth it. I mean, it's amazing music. It's a concert. So it's really worth exploring. So I'm going to expect you to go to one of those. Either Saturday morning where they study. It's more of a study time on Saturday morning. And Friday night is more of like music and amazing liturgy. But it will really bring you into kind of these writers, right, are coming from that tradition. You want to know, you want to have tasted that tradition to really understand some of these writers, right? So that's anytime. During the semester, Central Synagogue, Manhattan, 6 p.m. Friday, 9:30, Saturday. AM. Anytime you go, give me proof, take a picture, I don't know. Tell me about it. And then I'm sometimes there, so you might see me. And then you will, and I'll tell you more about that in a bit, but I guess for now, yeah, just go and experience it. Give me some proof that you were there. You can bring me the study sheet of Saturday morning, the program of Friday night, and then I'll know. Yes.
I mean, I've never been to there, so just go.
Just go. It's totally open. They have an open tent policy. Anyone can come. What's your religion, sexual orientation? They don't care. They welcome it. That's why I picked that one. Some synagogues will be like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" So this one is not like that, right? This one is like they love everybody. Whoever you are. So you'll just—it's like a concert. You go and sit down, and listen, and leave.
I can send you a picture of.
Just a program. Give me the program. Okay. Yeah, you just attach a program to your response. And then you'll give me a response. I don't know. I'll figure it out later once you're ready to have that. Okay. Yes, one last thing. I'm going to ask something unusual, which you're not used to, which you will hate, but I will really, really emphasize that request. I would like you to have the audacity to come in here without your computer. Can you do that?
I do it all the time now.
Yeah, you're good. Yes? Computer people, can you separate yourselves from your, yes? You okay? And you? Yes? Yes, you count as a computer person with your iPad. Yes, yes. Can you? Yes? Okay, you good? Not too happy, yeah? And you?
Fine.
Okay, you can do it. I got you. You too, right? So you will, I mean, you have no idea the difference it makes. Like you will be so much more attentive and present, right? And this class, remember, is not just a theoretical class. This is a class about your life. This is a class that will give you keys to escape the darkness. So you want to be deeply present, not only to listen, but to think, right? I know if I have my computer, I'm going to do 3 things at the same time. It's just going to happen. I'm going to do 3 things at the same time because I can totally listen to every word teacher is saying and do 3 things at the same time, but I'm not present and I'm not reflecting and I'm not meditating on what is being said. So without the computer, you have all this open space now to daydream. I want you to daydream. Listen with 1 year, 10%, 90% daydream, right? That's how I got through school. 90%, that's how you become good. 90% daydream. You're thinking about what the teacher is saying, and you're like, I wonder what that means, and how does it apply? And you're drifting over here. I want you to drift. You can't drift with this, right? Yes, you would. Trust me. Come at the end of the semester, tell me how wonderful it was. You'll see. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. You can already close them now, actually. So let's start now. Just come with a pencil, paper, right? And then it's a totally different atmosphere. Already I feel it. I feel it. Like now there's a lot more flow, right? Okay. Last thing, how much time I have? For 5, I have till 4:25, right? Yeah. I want to say one last thing about, I want to hone in on the definition of light or redemption or whatever. So we really are all on the same page. And this you should write down because it's going to come over and over again. Here's what I'm trying to say, and here's what this class will try to do. When you are in a dark place, you will notice that it is also a narrow place. Are you following me? You're probably stuck in your room, depressed, correct? When you're in a dark place, it's simultaneously a narrow place. You're like this. Does that make sense? Even physically, by the way, right? We know you're stooped, right? You're kind of, everything is flowing slower. You're kind of more like this. And the symptoms of darkness and depression or anxiety is usually also a narrowing of yourself, a narrowing of your mind, of your emotions, of your body, right? What we're going to talk about in this class is an opening up, gradual opening up. The path out of the darkness into the light is a path from narrow to expansion. So these things will come up over and over again. Narrow space, expanded space, right? As you expand your consciousness, as you expand your body in the sense of you're entering the world, you're moving into the world, you're moving beyond yourself, away from the narrow prison of the self. This is when you will begin to tap into the dimensions of light that are all around us. Do you follow? This is the key. All of the authors, so make sure you write this down, right? In this class, we'll move from a narrow space to a wide open space, right? Psychologically and physically, right? Not just in your mind, intellectually, but also in your emotions and in your body. These are the 3 areas where you will begin to move, right? Expand. Mind, emotions, body will begin to move beyond yourself, right? Many of the philosophers we'll talk about are going to talk about the prison of the self, where you're only stuck here with yourself. And the degree to which you move out of yourself into the world is the degree that you will begin to access the light that is all around us. We're like, it's so tragic because it's like we are just like Rumi talks about this. We are the fish on the land gasping for breath right next to the ocean. And there's a poem like that, right? Let me say it again. Write this down and draw the little fish on your paper. We are a fish on the land gasping. He said this, I'm actually quoting him. Right? We are like a fish on the land gasping for breath right next to the ocean. We live next to such a powerful dimension of light, and yet we never tap into it. Why? Because we're like this. right? We're constantly like this, wrapped in ourselves, wrapped in our depression, wrapped in our little narrow view of what it means to be human. And so what we really need to get into the ocean is to open up. And as we open up to life, as we open up beyond ourselves, we will begin to enter this ocean that is right next to us. And at that moment, your life will never be the same. It will never be that small life marked by resentment and depression. It will be a life which will be full of light and expansion and joy and peace, right? This is basically what the class will do. It will expand us, right? That's the movement I want you to keep in mind, right? Narrow to wide. And all of these philosophers are going to give us one version, right? For example, Ecclesiastes is going to talk about embracing life. Don't resist, don't push. Open, right? Maimonides, open your mind, right? Who's next? Talmudic thought. I have to work on that one, so I'm skipping. Spinoza, open emotions versus closed emotions. We're going to talk about this. There are closed, narrow emotions, and there are open emotions that we want to cultivate. Hasidism, seeing, right? Entering life. Oh, I'm working on both Talmudic and Hasidic. Buber, moving beyond yourself to the other. Expansion. Rosenzweig, the three gates, right? Expansion also, livingness, moving beyond yourself. So this is what it's going to be. You can never be the same at the end of this class. You will be awakened and you will be expanded, hopefully. And of course, the practice, the Sabbath, right, is a further practice which will also expand your consciousness just by doing it, right? So it's an invitation, you don't have to, but it's an invitation to do that practice that he's mentioning in the text. Okay, said everything. I think I really said everything. Any questions to remind me what I haven't said?
So we're submitting our assignments physically.
Everything's physical, yes.
And so, are you okay if I use colored pencils? Because it makes my writing not look so boring, you know?
They hurt. They hurt. Can you use black or blue?
I guess so, but it's, you know.
Yes, please.
It can look
That would be good.
Same color other
Yeah, stick with black and blue. Yes.
If the Google Maps Central Synagogue, there won't be like 15 results, right?
No, it's only one. It's on 55th and Lexington.
Oh, that's near 100 College.
Is it?
63rd.
Yes, it's in that area.
Yeah,
Yes.
Upper East Side.
Upper East Side. You get there directly with the 7. You get there, you get off at Grand Central, you walk. Okay,
Yes.
It's not hard.
I probably walked past it.
Yeah, it's
Been
very
all over
beautiful.
Manhattan.
It's a masterpiece of architecture, so just for that, it's worth it. Any questions, problems, issues, things you need to address?
Are you going to give the assignments back after?
You get the test. Do you get the test?
Okay.
Yeah, you get the test. I'll give you the test. The rest, if I don't talk to you, it's fine.
Yeah.
If I come to you
just
and
throw,
like,
throw it in the trash after.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing about Google Drive. It saves trees, right?
Yeah.
I might reconsider. We'll see. For this class, I want to try it. Okay, let me see if I have it. Yes, one last thing I want to do with you guys is initiation to reading philosophy. We have some time. Yeah. How many of you have done philosophy before? It's not bad. Rodriguez. Okay. Who hasn't done? Who hasn't done ever? One? All alone? Can someone help him? Anybody else? That's it? Everybody's done? Okay. I'll still do the initiation. Okay. When you read philosophy, you need an initiation, I believe. Otherwise, you get easily discouraged and you think it's not for you because philosophy will simply not give itself to you right away. In other words, you'll read and you won't understand anything, especially as we get into
Levinas.
Yes, when we get into Buber, Rosenzweig, Levinas, it gets more and more dense, more and more mysterious, and you're going to be tempted to reject it, obviously, right? Anything that makes us feel stupid, we reject. So it will make you feel stupid. So I want to give you this initiation so you can enter it peacefully and benefit from those readings, even if you do not understand a word of them, right? This is the key. So there are 4 steps, which I'm going to put here. Set up the essay. First step, I tell everyone when they start to read, first you need the book, right? But you also need a pencil. The first thing you need. Why? Why do I say you need a pencil? Yes. Exactly, right? This is a dialogue. These texts are there to elicit a response from you. They're not there for you to absorb them. They're there to provoke you. right? They're there to challenge you. They're there to make you uncomfortable. Remember, we're expanding. That's not easy, right? Any type of function. Have you done mushrooms? You see how painful it is,
Yes, I
right?
did it.
So
your
the
class.
same thing, right? These texts are going to be, there's a painful element. It's not easy to read. It's a challenge, right? And it wants to elicit. You need to respond. You need to respond. Accept the challenge. So as you're reading, I wonder if I have a book here. Usually, I always forget this. It's so nice when I have a book because I can show you all the underlining I do in my books. But in general, you should underline almost everything. You should put questions. You should put happy faces, exclamation points, right? Where you're really highlighting the parts you understand. That's how I do it. Usually, I'm like you. You think I understand everything? No, right? I don't understand everything that these guys are writing, but I underline the parts I understand, right? And by the time I'm done with the reading, I feel like, oh, I get a lot of it, right? I understand a lot of it. It helps me remember the parts I do understand. Okay, so you need a pencil. That's the first thing, so you can begin to carve out the meaning out of the text. If you don't do the pencil, I've noticed this, it'll go in and out. You won't remember a thing. It's like nothing happened. Whereas the pencil really is like, this is important thought. I like that one, or I understand this one. And then you'll see that you're actually much more comfortable in the text than before, right? Okay, second thing you need, I hope I remember this. Let me just write them all out. Yes. Second one, yes. Time that we don't have. These texts, I want you to read them and enjoy them. In other words, you're not allowed to read in a state of frustration. How you're going to do that? You're not going to read in order to understand. Got that? Do not go in the text thinking I need to understand this text. You won't. Just forget about it, right? This is why I'm here, right? So you should just read in order to experience the text. Oh, this is beautiful. I don't get a word of it, but I love it, right? Or this is exciting. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what's happening. Like a ride. Have you gone on these rides, that go up and down like this? Yeah, roller coaster. You're completely out of control, but you're enjoying it, right? That's how I want you to read, right? I want you to read as though you're on an intellectual roller coaster ride, right? Don't try to control you're going to control the roller coaster, really? No. So you want to just go with it, right? Enjoy the fact that you're in the presence of one of the most greatest thinker or thinkers of the planet, right? This is just being in their presence is enough, right? That's how I want you to read. I am in the presence. I don't understand, and that's normal and perfectly fine. Are you good? So you read. So I want you to read, really enjoying, delighting in it, because now you don't have to understand it. I just want you to delight. I want you to pick the best moment of the week. Let me find some best moments. What's the best moment of your week? Takes you a long time to.
Best moment of my week? Probably like mornings.
Mornings. Okay,
Yeah.
mornings. What about you?
When I go to sleep.
When you go to sleep, that's fine. What about you?
Oh, I thought we were talking about specific morning during
Sure, whatever you decide.
Sure, like a certain step I made forward for my girlfriend, like talking about a relationship.
Okay, very good. Okay, you see these best moments of your week or of your day, that's when you read the text. Not when you're in a hurry surrounded by crazy people on the subway. No, right? You are, unless it's a happy place for you, or unless it will bring you in a happy place. I don't know. Right?
Play around with it.
The what?
You can like joke around with those crazy
Yes,
people.
you
I do that
can.
all the time.
So don't read that during that time, right? So pick the best moment, and at that you make a cup of hot chocolate, like Sunday morning. Everybody's sleeping but you, because you're gonna succeed in your life, not your roommates, right? So you're there with your cup of chocolate, and you're just relaxing by the window. The sun is streaming in, and you're reading Rosenzweig, right? Right? That's how I want you to read. Got it? In the bathtub with petals of roses and a glass of wine. That's how you read Levinas, okay? So never read with the intention to control or grasp it. It's not gonna work. Just enjoy being in the presence of that author, period, okay? That's time. Third thing, I want you to read with a sense of urgency. In other words, you read as though at any moment on a given page, you will find the key to your own life, because it's going to happen if you read like that, right? All of us, we have a missing key. All of us, there's something stuck. There's something closed off. There's something narrow. We can't access a part of life that other people seem to have natural access to. How many are like that? You know you can't access this. Other people are accessing and you're outside, not knowing how to access the thing, right? All of us are stuck. All of us are, captured somehow, right? I want you to read these texts, as though at one moment you will fall on a page which will give you exactly the missing piece of this puzzle, the key you were looking for to unlock that part of your life. That's how you read, right? You don't read for class, you read for you. Urgency, right? You're reading, maybe I turn the page, maybe just around the corner of this story, maybe I will find that key that was missing in my life that will unlock this dimension for me, right? This class is all about unlocking, right? Expanding doors, windows, right? So urgency. And finally, you always want to read together. There's 3 things you should never do alone. If you're doing them alone, you're in trouble. Alcohol, drugs, philosophy. Okay? If you find yourself drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning by yourself, take a reality check. If you're doing drugs all by yourself, you're trying this new drug by yourself by an open window, please don't. You're gonna throw out, you're gonna fly out the window in a second. You always, if you're gonna try something new, there's people there holding on to you as you're becoming crazier and crazier, right? Philosophy is the same. You can become a fanatic, you can become a crazy person when the realm of thought is extremely dangerous. People kill for thoughts, right? People kill for ideals. People ruin their lives for a certain way of thinking. I know families who have destroyed their partners because of an idea, right? And they think by themselves. They think they got it and everybody's wrong, right? No. Philosophy, we know, I don't know. And therefore, that's Socrates, right? Therefore, you need each other to point you towards the way. Together we find the truth, not by ourselves. As soon as you're philosophizing alone or you have a thought by yourself and no one agrees with you, but you're pushing it, you're in trouble, right? I'll give you the bottle example. Trick question. How many of you see the bottle? You see it? Yes? What bottle? Actually, those who said you see it, you're wrong. You only see this little section, right? Arsena sees this section. I see this. Maybe someone on top would see that. Right? Together we see the bottle. Nobody in this class sees the bottle, right? It's the same with truth. No one has the truth. You have a tiny piece of the truth. If we get together, we can put the pieces together, right? So it's the same in our quest for the light, for this open space, right? For this new dimension. We need to move together. I listen to you, you listen to me, we compare notes, and now we're moving forward, right? So always, when it comes to the intellect, to ideas, never think by yourself. You won't get anywhere. You always want to have a partner to bounce your ideas off of, right? Or you always want to be in some kind of dialogue or conversation with the outside world when you're dealing with a world of ideas. Okay, so that's the initiation. That I wanted to do. So now you should be ready, right, to take any text in the class and really just cruise through, right? You should underline what you like, what you understand, you enjoy, you read with passion, and then in the class, you will have some group work where you will be discussing the text together. Right at the beginning of each class, I'll give you 20 minutes in groups where you will discuss the text together based on the reading assignment, and then I'm going to lecture. So that will be the format. And remember, take good notes, write all the time. I remember I studied in France. Our hands hurt, right? I want your hand to hurt. If your hand is not hurting at the end of class, you're not taking good notes. Your hand should have a cramp, okay? That's how you're gonna do this. Okay, any last questions before we conclude? Okay, I love it, he's still writing. Okay, good, Sarkeesian.
The other one. Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, great. See, these are the future A's. Watch them. Okay, great. I'm gonna stop the recording.